warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. On the show this week, we have a ministerial personality who is a powerful voice of the Prime Minister's office. He's equally a powerful voice as far as the politics of Jammu and Kashmir and the northeastern region is concerned. I welcome Dr. Jitendra Singh on To The Point, who's Minister of State for PMO. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Singh, let me begin by asking you a very basic question about which a lot of people are curious because a lot of comparisons are being made. The way PMO used to function earlier and now when you are at the helm of affairs, what is a real USP of Modi's PMO if I were to ask you?
No, I think in a single sentence I would like to put it this way that the present government under Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has restored the esteem and, as you say in Hindi, the garima of the Prime Minister's office.
Okay.
In the earlier 10 years of the erstwhile government, the Prime Minister's office had virtually devoid itself of all the esteem and the prestige which usually goes with this office, and the orders at the behest of PMO were being issued from certain other quarters which I don't have to elaborate.
Don't you think that the government also risks that kind of a criticism where people say that there is too much of a centralization of power, there's authoritarianism which has crept in?
No, certainly I would put...
It's ironical actually.
I would put it this way that, see, we live in an evidence-based era, and all these observations made without any evidence or without any basis do not carry much weightage and therefore do not deserve much of a response. And having said that, let me also add over here that maybe over the last 10 years or a decade, the political observers of the country, even those in the media, had got used to looking at PMO from a kind of a perspective which is not the true perspective of PMO as it should be. It is certainly not centralized.
Okay.
Let me first correct that, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi gives abundant liberty to each of his ministerial colleagues to exercise their freedom, exercise their discretion. Rather, I would put it this way, that he goes out of way to encourage out-of-box ideas.
Okay.
But as far as looking at PMO is concerned, I think this kind of an anomalous optic impression is as the result of the fact that in the last 10 years, PMO was actually not performing its function.
So would you say that it's an optical aberration on the part of the media?
Optical aberration occurring as a result of an aberration which consistently continued for the last 10 years in the erstwhile government, where the PMO's orders were being issued from some other quarter.
Okay, now Dr. Singh, talking about the day-to-day challenges before the government, which are they? And to start with, there are reports of a cabinet reshuffle which is going to be around the corner. Are we going to see some surprises in terms of the fact that the underperformers could be pushed out and the performers would be rewarded? Is it going to be something like that?
No, if you permit me, I would not like to respond to that, partly because this is neither my prerogative, this is exclusively the prerogative of the Prime Minister, and it will be out of turn for me to...
No, but since you're part of the PMO, so you would know.
Certainly not. This is purely a prerogative of the Honourable Prime Minister, and none of us have the right to trespass that.
But sir, but I think you can comment on the fact that there have been earlier also there have been reports that probably there could be a cabinet reshuffle, but it had been deferred for some reasons unknown.
Certainly cabinet reshuffle.
So is it going to be happening this time or is it going to be deferred?
Cabinet reshuffle or the composition of the cabinet or the size of the cabinet are some of the things which are left to the Prime Minister and his prerogative, and we respect that prerogative of the Prime Minister.
I mean, I totally respect what you're saying, but which also shows that obviously some kind of consultations are happening since you're part of the PMO, so some consultations are on.
No, I am too small a person to be involved in a consultation of Prime Minister's choice of ministers. I think the Prime Minister himself is wise enough.
But so when reports like, the big 4 portfolios are being talked about, and there are reports saying that, there could be a change in the finance ministry.
Frankly speaking, I am absolutely ignorant about it. I know about it only as much as you know, having read from certain newspapers.
Okay. You don't want to comment right now, which means?
You could put it that way.
Okay, so coming to the politics in Jammu and Kashmir and what is happening right now post the former Chief Minister's death, Mufti Sahab's death. Uh, why do we see an intriguing political silence at the moment, both on the part of BJP as well as PDP?
No, I think you can't actually blame the BJP for that.
Okay.
Nor would I like to put the blame on anybody. It's a part of a constitutional process. And in situations like this, the largest single party enjoys the prerogative to stake its claim.
Okay.
And therefore, whenever this happens, the rest of the sequence of events would follow. And since the intervening period got a little prolonged, and therefore, I think in the fitness of things, it was decided that the governor's rule has to be there, and that's what has happened.
But there were reports saying that there's some kind of a mistrust which is there between PDP and BJP at the moment. For example, leaders like Naeem Akhtar, PDP leader Naeem Akhtar, they had started saying that the government formation is totally dependent on the review process of the government's performance. So is that the reason for the present logjam where no decision has?
I don't think
right?
I would make a comment on that for the reason that as far as BJP is concerned, we are an organizational party, we are a cadre-based party. We have certain definite mechanisms in place, we have a constitution in place. Our organizational leadership assigns certain responsibilities and certain prerogatives to certain office bearers.
Right.
And we have authorized office bearers. We have the state prabharis, or as you call them, in charges. We have the state president. We have the general secretary organization. And likewise, we have an entire hierarchy in the organization which takes care of these things.
But Dr. Singh, when off the record you speak to the state BJP leaders, they do mention the fact that somewhere there is an element of doubt now, whether they would be accepting Mehbooba Mufti as the CM candidate, because there were reports immediately after Mufti Sahab's death that there should be an option for a rotational chief minister formula. So there's some kind of wariness on the part of the BJP leaders.
No,
What is the
there's an
reason?
English proverb that we'll cross the bridge when we reach it. And therefore, I think let the party first choose its leader. The PDP is yet to choose the leader of the legislative party, and therefore it will be premature to comment on the sequence of events to follow.
Isn't the fact true that PDP has already taken its decision to field Mehbooba Mufti as the chief
I'm not
ministerial
sure,
candidate?
I'm not aware, nor have they come out publicly, nor have they informed us officially.
Okay.
And that's only when they go through the formal constitutional requirement of electing a leader of the legislative party, and then accordingly, subsequently intimate the governor, that the governor would then take a call. So that all has yet to take off. It's absolute lull right now.
But Dr. Singh, past 10 months, the relationship between BJP and PDP hasn't been a very smooth and an easygoing relationship. People say that it was like a working relationship in a marriage of inconvenience.
No,
How would you comment to that?
I would say, like most of the successful marriages in India, where the two partners agree to disagree on certain issues and still carry on. That's happens in most of the marriages. Very few of them actually break down. So I think it was an alliance which was based on certain common minimum program, which was given the name of Agenda of Alliance. And notwithstanding the fact that there were ideological differences, there was difference of Vichardhara, which is known to everybody else. I, for one, belong to an organization with which I have been deeply rooted for the last 30, 40 years. So therefore, I can't now mold myself to think otherwise. And same must have been the case on the other side. And therefore, not actually compromising on the ideological issues, it was decided that we would leave these contentious issues aside and move ahead on the plank of development, and rightly so, because under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the entire country has embarked on a development journey at a very fast track, and therefore it will be a great misfortune if a peripheral state like J&K gets devoid of this or deprived us. And I think Mufti Sahab also agreed to this, that we should move ahead on the agenda of development, and that is the common agenda for both the parties.
But for the last 10 months, how successful had you been in bridging that ideological divide? Because, there have been allegations from the valley saying that, the kind of funds which should have come from the center, they have not reached. Then there are various other issues like hoisting the flag. Whole lot of issues were there on which, some kind of a strain was visible between the two parties. So how would you say that it's a very easy-going?
See, what happens is when you have two parties in alliance which are apparently different ideologically, the things become more visible.
Okay.
Otherwise, in any coalition, anywhere in the country, you see the other states also where there's a coalition, there's always some sort of a love-hate relationship between the two partners. And sometimes there is some sort of a one-upmanship. Sometimes they have, since also because they have their, different constituencies to cater with. So there's a political angle also involved. So these kind of things, coalition, happen in a coalition, but coalitions usually pull along. It also depends upon the leadership which is heading the coalition.
So despite all the love-hate relationship between BJP and PDP, you are quite hopeful of forming the government as soon as...
like a good Indian marriage.
Okay, on that note, let me take a break, Dr. Jitendra Singh. When we come back, we talk about a few more challenges before the Narendra Modi government. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point with Minister of State for PMO, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Sir, talking to you about the recent death which happened at the campus of Hyderabad Central University, Rohith Vemula's death. I'm not going to get into the details of how and how the incident took place. But as far as the perception of the government is concerned, somewhere down the line there is a feeling that the present government is being projected as a reflexive anti-Dalit government. How would you correct that image?
I think that kind of a criticism is inspired by those who are not comfortable with the present government.
Okay.
And are yet to digest that we have a government headed by BJP, supported by two-thirds majority, headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Okay.
Having said that, if you look at the things as they are, Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday itself during his visit to Uttar Pradesh expressed his grief over what had happened. And by and large, all the policies and all the decisions taken by the government during the last 1.5 years have never tended to give an impression that they are biased in favor of a particular community or a particular section of society.
Right.
Rather, they are the decisions which are actually aimed at helping the last man in the last queue, whether it's the farmer, it's a housewife, or the unemployed youth. Look at Jan Dhan Yojana. I mean, it's something incredible. You could have a bank account with a zero balance. You look at Mudra Yojana and look at startup or the Kisan
Right.
Fasal Bima Yojana. So all these schemes launched by the present government actually are a reflection of the priority given by the present government and the present Prime Minister to the weaker sections, to the deprived sections, and to the peripheral sections of society. So it's rather the other way around.
Right. But sir, in a politically crucial year when we have elections coming up in 5 states, and this incident has been blown out of proportion for reasons unknown to everybody. Don't you think that it could have political ramifications? For example, I will just give you a small example of what happened in Bihar. RSS leader Mohan Bhagwatji made a comment on reservations, and which was encashed upon by leaders like Lalu Prasad, and they did make a political mileage out of it. So don't you think that this kind of a sensationalism, when it happens, it could impact you electorally as well?
You have partly answered your own question in the sense that, as you said, in a year where there are some of important elections in the offing, such kind of things are blown out of proportion. That's what's happened. So that is a part of the question that you put. And having said that, let me add to that the voter in this country is grown maturer, wiser, faster than the politician in this country.
Okay.
And therefore, I don't think we can try to manipulate or maneuver the voter with the tactics of the last election. The voter is coming of age at a very fast pace, and therefore he can see through all this. And by and large, I also firmly believe that of late, and particularly in 21st century India in 2016, no other agenda, political or otherwise, is going to be overtaken by the agenda of development. So regardless of political affiliations, whichever party I belong to, this, that, A, B, C, and regardless of the voters' affiliations, the common youth, because now this is a country which is primarily a youth country.
But sir,
so they have prioritized themselves to look at development,
But so when
regardless of,
Right.
instead of getting strayed or distracted by the political agendas.
But so when I talk about Rohith Vemula's case, it has a certain casteist color which has been given by the opposition leaders, and they've been talking about it. They're looking at the whole incident through a casteist prism. Now, for example, analysts have already started saying that this incident could hit elections like in Uttar Pradesh, where probably leaders like Mayawati, they are working on a Dalit Muslim combination. They're working on it for the 2017 elections. So don't you think that it might?
No, I
Do you
think
need
the-
a do you
I
need a
think-
damage control?
I think the answer
strategy?
to that is again that the voter is growing wiser faster than both the politician as well as the analyst, and that's been evident in a number of elections. The political operators
But so
try
Bihar was
no,
was a
there
way
were there.
different.
See, you cannot analyze an electoral outcome on the basis of a single factor. There may have been a number of factors, which, of course, I will not go into detail, other than the factor that you are referring to, which could have contributed to a greater or a lesser extent. So, every election outcome is a result of a multifactorial happenings. It's not a
So you
single.
don't see this incident impacting electorally, probably in states like UP or Punjab.
I
You wouldn't say,
don't
because
think-
Dalit voters constitute a huge chunk.
Certainly,
Both
but at the
states.
same time, by and large, the common masses among the weaker sections, including the Dalits, are reasonably convinced with the government's sincerity, the BJP's sincerity in working for their upliftment. And I think that's a big saving grace.
Another question which I would like to ask you on the same incident is that this incident it has some kind of an import as far as other campuses of the university are concerned. It has flown beyond the Hyderabad Central University campus, and we see a certain kind of an unrest on other campuses, saying that the government probably is trying to muzzle the democratic voices, and there's a feeling
No,
that there was a
I
protest
think-
on Yaqub Menon's hanging, and then somehow this whole incident has been.
See, I don't think that is factually correct.
Okay.
For the simple reason, the facts and the sequence of events speaks otherwise. Had it been so, had the government inclined to muzzle it or
There's a
suppress
feeling
it,
that there's no space for the
so in
contrarian
that
perspectives
case,
at all.
In that case, the government would not have ordered a judicial inquiry, and therefore the government is quite open and feels that it's nothing to hide. So I think the facts don't point to that. And having said that, as you mentioned, if there was a protest against an event which tended to eulogize somebody who was seen as an anti-national, I think there has to be a margin given to that too.
Okay, now taking you away to another challenge which has been obviously put by media as another big challenge for the Modi government, the way Pathankot airbase attack was handled. Do you think that the government needs to learn some lessons from the way it was handled? Because it was seen as a botched up kind of an operation where government really needed to work more. Do you feel so now with the hindsight?
Not really. Actually, in this country, even the analysts are journalists. Not journalists, G-E-N-E-R. They are all generally awakened. We don't have specialized analysts. So if you ask a defense expert, he would be able to appreciate that we had only one casualty actually over there.
Okay.
The others were, that was the only one.
But the figure of 7 people dying.
Yeah, so what happened? See, the NSG commander, the colonel, died by accident. And one of the common criticism being put across is that why the operation got prolonged.
Right.
But what needs to be made to understand is that if it had not got prolonged, it could have caused a huge casualty, because you had certain set of people who had gone inside. Now, why they went, how they went, that's being looked into. That's a separate story. Right. But as far as the Operation Percy is concerned, when one of them ultimately died, he had as many as about 30 blasts which went off, after his body got blown off. So you could imagine, had there been a misplaced bravado to blow him off, it could have caused a havoc. And therefore, the forces were waiting to, locate these 2 or 3 persons who were left in hiding, and also trying to watch and follow their movement very closely so that they don't get an opportunity to, because they were there to blow themselves or suicide bombers.
why
And
are the
therefore, it took time in order to save casualty and also at the same time to eliminate them. So I think that was a strategical decision, which was not a delay on account of any weakness.
But the
It was a
retired-
delay by design.
Right. But the retired army personnel and the army officials, they have been saying that the army should have been given an upper hand and not the NSG, because NSG specializes in anti-hijacking operations and
No,
they
as-
should not have been there.
Yeah, this point has been coming up time and again, but what I understand is that army was already there. So there is some kind of a misconception which has gone out.
But there were reports that NSG, 150 to 200 troops of NSG were there and some 50 troops from the army were called in to just...
No, but we have been given to understand that army already was there, and upon that it was NSC.
Okay.
So somehow the impression went out that army was called in later, which is not true.
So do you think that there's some kind of a communication lack somewhere?
If it is so, certainly it requires to be corrected. But by all means, our army and our defense forces are doing a commendable job. We need to be proud of them. We need to pat them, and we have to guard against saying or articulating anything directly or indirectly which tends to compromise the morale of Indian forces. And I think we are proud of them, proud of our defense.
There were also reports that probably the Home Minister is not being kept in loop because he didn't know how many terrorists have been neutralized, and then when the operation wasn't over, he said that it was over. So those kind of reports.
I don't think I'm in a position to answer that question because only the Honorable Home Minister can answer that.
Okay. But so a lot of questions have also been raised about the security, the internal security of the airbase, how the cameras were not working, and it was like a 1,600-acre airbase where probably some equipments also were not working. So was there some laxity on the part of the maintenance of the equipment?
Certainly not. I think they have done a commendable job. All these kinds of observations have been coming in the media and also from the analysts, partly because they are not able to understand the essence of the entire operation. Okay. And they look at it in a different way. Look here, this is going on for 3 days, 4 days, and now that we have a media which is in a position to cover it, round the clock, 24/7. So the firing going on constantly, all the 24 hours for 4 days, 5 days sounds little, uncomfortable for the viewers also, and also the analysts are able to build up on that. Had this operation happened without a media coverage, I think they would have better understood it. Because as I said, and I would reiterate, the delay or the duration was planned, it was strategized, it was by design, it was not by default, or it was also not as from a position of weakness on the part of the Indian forces.
So one last question, I would like to talk to you about the foreign policy before we end the program. On the foreign policy front, we've seen an aggressive foreign policy being pursued by the Narendra Modi government. But when it comes to Pakistan, why is the policy so unclear?
No, it's not unclear.
Is it a hawkish stand? Are we peddling on both sides? Is it soft?
The fact that the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, and his government has always been keen to have good, friendly, neighborly relationship was evident from day one, the 27th of May, when an unprecedented decision was taken to call all the heads of states from the neighboring countries to be there during the oath-taking ceremony of the Prime Minister and his ministry. So that itself sent out a message which was very loud and clear. And after that, on the 25th of December, the manner in which Prime Minister made a visit to Lahore. So I think the kind of honesty and sincerity on the part of the Indian dispensation and the Prime Minister is very clear.
But Prime Minister's visit to Nawaz Sharif was certainly lauded big time, and it was seen as an initiative which was like pulling a rabbit out of the hat. It was certainly seen like that. But the moment an initiative is taken on extending the bilateral dialogue between the two countries, the power center within Pakistan, it is completely divided between the government and the army. That has been a history. But in this kind of a scenario, how would you lay your stance? Is it going to be hawkish? Is it going to be soft? Or are we going to peddle on both sides?
Yeah, again, your question is partly answered by you only. As you said, Pakistan may be having a problem in arriving at a unanimity of decision making. That apart, I would not like to comment on that, but that's a common observation, as you have already mentioned. And as far as India is concerned, we are a democratic setup. We have a definite institutionalized mechanism in place. We have a Ministry of External Affairs, we have a Ministry of Defense, we have a Ministry of Home Department, we have the National Security Agency. And in situations like this, the circumstances keep changing from day to day, and they keep a close follow-up and monitoring of the sequence of events and take a call accordingly, depending upon the situation, which is in the best interest of the nation, because that is the prime importance.
But dialogue along with terror, is it going to be possible? Because when BJP was in opposition, it used to say the dialogue is not possible without terror.
I think time and again, the Honorable Minister of External Affairs and the Minister of Home Affairs have made this position very clear about terror and talks not happening, but terror talks on terror happening, etc. And then depending on the situation on a given day, they take a call which is commendable and I think in the best interest of the nation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Jitendra Singh, for coming on To The Point.
Thank you.
That's it on this episode. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.